Make sure you know your product, your business, your whole service inside and out. I need to think about it. It's very elusive. It could mean a number of one things. So you, as a salesperson, as a business owner, need to dig deeper, cut deeper, say absolutely. We need to show empathy. Absolutely. Look, don't rush. Don't rush the decision in the slightest. At the end of the day, we're all human beings. People are allowed to change their mind. People are allowed to have differing opinions. Things are allowed to crop up in someone's life. I did press record. You had sales questions and I've got plenty of answers. Welcome to another special edition of the Sales Circle podcast. Another one of our episodes where I'm going to be answering your sales related questions. The questions that you, the listener, have sent in. Those of you that have listened and thought, what can I do here? What do I do with this? Today is the episode where I collate all of those questions and I answer them as best as I can, off the cuff, with no preparation. Thank you for joining me on the Sales Circle podcast. My name is Rob Spence, your host. And as I mentioned, we're going to be answering your questions. Now, every episode I ask you, and I always ask you, please send in your sales-based questions. What I do is I collect them all up and we read those questions out and we try and find the right answer to help you. Today's episode are the ones that I love. I love when I've just got an array of questions because we get so many sent in. I collate them all and we just read them out and hope for the best. So this is going to be a nice, quick, short fire episode. I think there was about 10, maybe 12 questions to go through, which is fantastic. And I cannot wait to read those out. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of the Sales Circle podcast. Just before we get into the main flow, and I am going to have to go check the microphone is on, because I'm a little bit worried that I didn't turn it on. But before we crack on with the main flow of the episode, stop what you're doing, hit the follow button, hit the subscribe button if you're watching over on YouTube. And let's crack on. So, as I mentioned, we've got your sales-based questions. Now, one thing I forgot to say in the introduction there is that if you have a sales-related question, a business growth-related question, maybe a question about objection handling, closing questions, maybe your sales director has asked you with a scary task of converting someone who's working with your competitors, and you need help on how to do that, maybe. No matter what your sales question is, just send it in, and I'll eventually get round to replying. All you've got to do is email thesalescircleofficial@gmail.com. Find us over on social media and drop me a message, or just comment below and I'll pick it up. Like I said, what we got here, goodness, 10 or 12 questions, I think. I've not seen these questions really before today. I've just kind of chucked them in. I've got no preparation. 10 questions. So firstly, thank you so much for sending these questions in. We're going to start. This one is from James, just down the road from us in Nottingham, or up the road in Nottingham from us, which is fantastic. James says, what is the best way to warm up cold leads without sounding like I'm selling? Yeah, it's critical, isn't it? And salespeople have had a bad reputation for this overly selling too soon, too quick, right? And, you know, it's really coming to its own with AI and automation. I can pick up a sales message straight away. I believe that when we are prospecting, especially cold, we are trying to build relationships and sell value first, not selling the products or service. And as cheesy as it sounds, the best analogy we can use is dating. If I match with you on Tinder right now, or Grindr, or Hinge, or whatever, if I match with you on Tinder right now, and straight away I ask you to marry me, right? Straight away. Hey, Sally, you look lovely. I'd love to marry you. I'm the best solution to all your problems. Let's get hitched. Are you gonna want to marry me there and then? Absolutely not. Based on what? A photograph, a dodgy bio, and everything else. But we build a relationship. We go on some dates. We send some messages, and then it eventually gets to that stage. And I know that sounds crude, and it sounds very much like Swiss Tony from the Fast Show. Now, my editors who edit up these videos, they won't know who Swiss Tony are. And I'm urging them now to go and Google, YouTube, Swiss Tony from the Fast Show. You'll love him. But really, it's as simple as that. If we go in too hard, too soon, too fast, we end up pushing people away. And those of you that have watched the episode about the tennis ball theory, we talk about if you take a ball and throw it at someone's head really fast, they're going to get out of the way, they're going to dodge, they're going to try and avoid it, or at the very least, they're going to get smacked in the head and be royally pissed off, right? But if we prep the prospect, throw it underarm, they're more likely to catch it. So coming back to your question, James, it was, wasn't it? Share value. share value first, develop the relationship, make sure it's genuine relationship building, not fake relationship building. Really try and get to know your customer before you go in and sell. I guess the secondary question will be, what value can I share? Remember, you're trying to help someone, you're trying to build a relationship, you're trying to start that conversation. So what can you talk about? Can you share articles? Can you provide value? Can you just start a conversation about a recent post I put out on LinkedIn? Just start that conversation. This question next is from Amy over in Belfast. So thank you, Amy. I love it. How do I know if someone's really a good prospect or just being polite? Yeah, I think for me that the best thing to be doing here is conversation and asking questions. And remember, one of the key questions I always urge people to utilize are open questions, right? We cannot, use open questions sort of like, what's your timeline for solving this? You can use that cheesy sales one on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is this to you and your business right now, or you and your family right now? If we are qualifying well enough and asking open-ended questions, lo and behold, we can really get a sense. At the end of the day, we're all human beings. People are allowed to change their mind. People are allowed to have differing opinions. Things are allowed to crop up in someone's life. But as long as we communicate, converse, ask open-ended questions, I don't see the problem. This one here is from Dan. Dan, thanks for getting in touch. Okay, very similar to James here, which is good. How I struggle with getting the sales conversation started. What is a good opening line? Wow. Okay, so you put me on the spot here for like an opening line. So what do you say? I struggle with the sales conversation getting started. What is a good opening line? So remember, when we are trying to open up a prospect, especially cold, we're trying to start a conversation. But more than that, we're trying to develop a relationship and understand their pain points. So I do always believe that we should start off soft and try and introduce ourselves slowly and build that conversation. But the kind of opener I teach my team here over at Paragon Sales Solutions is the best thing to do is like utilize what I call a mini pitch. So it's not necessarily an elevator pitch, but it hits the nail on the head. So you could pick out sort of 3 pain points that you normally help people fix, or 3 problems that you normally solve, and then allow the conversation to go from there. So, hello, and this is great for networking events as well, or whatever. Hello, my name is Rob. I own a company that helps businesses, no different to yours, to increase sales, boost profitability, and create a great sales team. Is that something that you are interested in right now, or are they problems that you face within your business, or does that resonate with you at all? Straight away, I've kind of made it really clear and concise the problems that I face. If you notice, in those 3 sort of pain pointers, I've not sort of said, my name's Rob and my company do telemarketing, digital marketing, SEO, social media, podcasting. I've found the pain point that my benefits can help people. I hope that helps, Dan. You really put me on the spot there. Thank you. Sophie says, is there a right time to talk about price? Yes. Look, I'm a big believer that things should be sold on value over price. For you to pitch price and for you to pitch costs, I really believe you've got to get the value out there first. And that value, when we talk about value, it's the value that the product or service brings, but also the value that you or your company brings, right? The kind of added value. Why should they choose you over anyone else? What can you actually provide over anyone else? If they ask early, that's not an issue. Okay, I don't think you should skirt around it. I don't think you should avoid it. I don't think you should talk about it. But try and within that pitching then get across what they're actually getting, especially if the product or service that you are selling, in fact, for anything really, but if the product or service you are selling is of more of a premium, then really sell and underline that value. And don't be afraid of that. I think sometimes we can, if our product is pricier than others, sometimes people can feel a bit nervous. Like, I'm so sorry, but we're expensive. I'm sorry. And that makes you look weak as a salesperson or as a business owner. But if you stand strong, if you sound authoritative, and if you sound confident in the reason why it costs that much money, that incurs confidence on your customer. right? That incurs confidence on the prospect you're selling to. And then they're more likely to then take that no matter what it comes to. Got this one now. I think this one, yeah, so this one's about objection handling by the looks of things, which is a big thing in sales, right? So Mike has written in here to say, oh, here we go. I need to think about it. The I need to think about it objection is massive in sales, right? So Mike says, how do you handle that I need to think about it objection? Once again, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, 7 out of 10 prospects may say this at some point in time. Maybe more, maybe less. And I think there's always very similarities between that objection and I need to speak to my wife, I need to speak to my boss, I need to speak to my partner, X, Y, Z. This is where we use our questioning techniques and we just dig a little deeper. One of the questioning techniques I use is layering. And I believe we've got a podcast episode that is all about questioning techniques. I think so anyway. I know I've spoke about it on camera. So go dig that out. But my response to that always is absolutely, look, I know this is a big decision. I know that, look, I'd rather you think about it than regret it later on. Just so I'm aware, in case there's anything I can help you with or provide solutions for, what specifically do you need to think about? That question alone will allow the prospect to open up a little bit more. Let's think about that question in more detail. I need to think about it. It's very elusive. What do you need to think about? Is it the cost of it? Is it the timing? Is it some of the benefits? Is it some of the solutions? Is it you need to speak to some competitors? I need to think about it is very elusive. It could mean a number of one things. So you, as a salesperson, as a business owner, need to dig deeper, cut deeper, say absolutely. We need to show empathy. Absolutely. Look, don't rush the decision in the slightest. I'd rather us take some time. Just so I can maybe help you out or maybe provide some further information for you. Is there anything in particular you need to think about? Or we could word it a little less confrontational. Is there anything that I've not explained properly enough? That question allows that prospect to either say, yeah, actually, I just need to kind of make sure it aligns with my budgets, or actually I've got a meeting with someone else tomorrow to speak about it. That allows you to then problem solve a little bit deeper. So give it a go. Just ask what you can help with and then go from there. Thank you for the question. Ellie says, I always get stuck when someone says they're happy with their current supplier. Love that. Once again, it's very rare when you're selling anything, in particular B2B and in particular outbound or cold. It's quite rare that you're going to be selling to a virgin audience, right? It's very rare you're going to be selling to an audience that hasn't already got a supplier, right? One of the biggest sort of sectors we work in is the cleaning and facilities management. The companies and the businesses that our clients want to target, 9 times out of 10, if I'm honest, 9.9 times out of 10, have already got a supplier. So once again, with any objection, we show empathy. We go, absolutely fantastic. I'm glad you've recognised the problems. I'm glad you've got someone in hand. I'm glad you've got it all sorted. Just out of interest, if there was one thing you wish they would do better, what would it be? Right? Or words, is there anything they're letting you down on? But once again, I think that sounds a bit bitchy and so on. I think, is there one thing you wish they could improve on? Or is there one thing you wish they could do better? They could say, no, I'm really happy. Hey, listen, I'm glad you've made the right decision. I've heard great things about that company anyway. Listen, we're always here for you. Can I give you back a call in a few weeks or months? We'll maybe have another chat, X, Y, Z. They could then say, yeah, actually, you know what? They do seem to miss like one clean every month for whatever reason. Yeah, sorry to hear that. It does happen. Look, humans make mistakes and so on. Just to kind of alleviate that problem a little bit, our company don't allow that. Although, yes, we have humans. And although, yes, sometimes people fall sick, people fall ill. Our management system is so rehearsed and so process-driven that you will never miss a clean, no matter what has happened in someone else's life. If that were to happen, do you feel you'd have a better service? And then you allow that conversation to go from there, right? So who was that from? Ellie, I think it was. So Ellie, thank you so much for the question. I do really appreciate it. We've got another, we're done. Wow, we're flying through these. We've done 6. So we're about halfway through there now. We're going to take a quick short break and then we're going to crack back on with these questions and answers. Just a quick note, don't forget, we are proud to be sponsored and partnered by Monday.com CRM. If you are a business owner, a salesperson, an entrepreneur looking for an intuitive CRM system that is designed to not only save you time, but actually to help you boost profits, then Monday.com CRM is perhaps the best solution for you. We as a team, an award-winning sales and marketing team, use Monday.com to not only manage our products, but also help us manage our pipelines, our prospects, and use AI and automation to free up those mediocre tasks that just take up too much time. If you're looking for a new CRM system, if you're looking for a change in CRM system, maybe you're just curious and want to check out Monday.com CRM, I've got a link for you. You'll see it in the show notes or the description below. Click it, you'll get some free access and some other benefits and some other bonuses. Check out the link, have a play around with it, and let me know your thoughts. Welcome back. We're going to jump straight back in. We've got another question here from Tom up in Sheffield, sunny Sheffield. This one says, how do I come across more confident in sales meetings? Look, was it Tom? Sorry. Yeah, Tom, this opens up, quite a multitude of things. In my opinion, confidence comes from a couple of things, right? Preparation and practice. Maybe a little bit more, but let's focus on those two a little bit. I believe that, all right, let's go preparation, practice, and authority. I'll allude to that in a second. So preparation, okay? Make sure you know everything. Normally people feel a bit anxious or nervous because they're underprepared. They're worried. Right? They're worried that something's going to come and, knock them off their feet. So always prepare. And by prepare, this goes into a longer activity. Make sure you know your product, your business, your whole service inside and out, right? Be prepared for any question, no matter how big or small. Okay? Make sure you know and understand everything you can about whatever it is you are selling. Beyond that, make sure you are well aware of everything about your prospect. Make sure you understand them very well. And some of this extends out to the basics. So where the customer are, where to park, how to find them, who you're going to be meeting, how long that person's been in the company for, what their job roles are. All of this information you can find on LinkedIn, on the website, right? You don't have to be a detective. Prepare as much as you can. My second tip is, what was it again? I forgot what it was. Practice, right? The unfortunate thing is, Tom, the more you do, the easier things get. Part of that is because you learn from each meeting, you learn from each, call. The more you do, the easier your life becomes. So don't feel overwhelmed and think that you've got to get it perfect on day one. Just try and improve each meeting by, 1%. By the time you've done 10, you've compounded that by 10%. The other thing is to sound authoritative, okay? Once again, we can pick up nervous salespeople. We can pick up nervous people when they're umming, erring, not too sure about what to say. They're, slightly nervous, anxious. It's visible. Fake it until you make it. Get into that meeting as the proudest, strongest person that you believe you can be, right? Even if it takes every ounce of your acting skills, that authoritativeness or illusion of authority will allow you to feel and become more confident. Thus, the more you do, each one will improve anyway. So I hope that helps. Annika says, I get nervous when making cold calls. Any tips? Yeah, absolutely. I think, I'm famous for saying how nervous I used to be when I used to call people and pick up the phone, right? I remember we didn't have headsets, sorry. My hands would be shaking. Hello, it's Robert. Right, scary as anything, right? It was horrible. I thought everyone in the room was listening to me. I thought if I didn't make a sale that I'd be ridiculed as a failure. So there was all these fears of failure, fear of embarrassment, fear of just messing up entirely, right? So similar to what we said before, prepare, practice, and just do it. I run and operate one of the functions we have is a telemarketing and cold calling facility, and we have people join the business, some of whom have got sales experience, some of whom do not. And, we've got to get them confident on the phone very, very quickly. What we do, is, the way I see it, right, is we do a bit of work outside of the pool, and then eventually we just got to chuck people in and allow them to swim and figure it out for themselves. So we do a bit of out of pool work. So we put them on some sales training. We prepare them on the product, the service, whatever they're talking about. We do some simple role plays. We get them used to some openers, some objection handling. Like I said, we teach them how to do the breaststroke, right? But before long, normally within 2 days, I like to just get my foot in their back and kick them in the pool. That's the only way you can learn to swim, right? So Annika, I think the key thing is everyone gets nervous when making cold calls. Everyone does. Once again, the more you do, the better you become and the less anxious and the less nervous you are. So do some preparation beforehand, get used to some cold call openers, get used to some objection handling, and just do it. Before long, it'll get to a point where it's water off a duck's back and it doesn't really matter. Lewis has written in to say, what do you do when you're in a slump and nothing's closing? Love this question. And Lewis, our next episode, if I've understood the schedule correctly, our next episode coming out next Thursday is all about what to do when sales are down. So that'll be a great episode for you. But look, sales is like that, right? We have the highs, we have the lows, and everything else in between, right? It's never just a straight line. There's peaks, there's troughs, and everything, right? Normally what salespeople do when there is a slump, when things aren't going well, when they're not closing deals, they panic. And that sense of panic comes across in their activities, in their sales calls, in their closing, in their questioning, and everything else in between. So don't panic. Just go back to the basics, okay? Just take it slow, right? Just think about what you're doing. Think about your prospecting efforts. Think about how you're pitching and think about your closing. Really try and have like that helicopter view in terms of your activities. Try and think if you are doing anything differently. If you are, then once again, go back to those basics. If you're not, just keep going. Keep that chin up. Stay positive. You know, I think when we are speaking to prospects, we know when someone's desperate. We know when someone's in a bit of a lull. We know when someone is down in the dumps. You're a great guy, Lewis. You're a great salesperson. I've no doubt. Stay confident in that. You've got a great product or service. Stay confident in that. And eventually the highs will come again, right? I think this might be the final question. Gosh, we have got through those really quick, which is perfect, actually. We're right on time, to be fair. But this one is from Freya. Freya has written in to say, how do I stay motivated when rejection keeps piling up? Yeah, great question. And to be fair, quite similar to Lewis's, right? Let's not beat around the bush. Rejection is massive in sales, right? We are rejected every single day. Even I, someone who's worked in sales for years, gets rejected every single day. I'm sitting on 2 emails in my inbox of people that have rejected me recently, okay? Historically, I may have been completely upset about that, really completely upset by that. And don't get me wrong, I'm not arrogant. I'm still upset and a bit hurt about that. But there's 2 things that I can do now. One, I can learn from those failures. I can learn from those sales not coming my way. But I can also be there for that customer when they're ready to come back. And I'd say half of the people that go elsewhere eventually come back to me. So my activity now is to contact them and say, absolutely, I hear this, blah, blah. What could I have done better? What could we have done better? That's how it works out, right? So Freya it was, wasn't it? Don't let your head drop. As I said to Lewis a second ago, you're a great salesperson. You're a great, knowledgeable individual with a great product or service. Stay confident, right? You're going to get rejected a lot. Stay confident in what you offer. Keep that chin up. Don't go out without a fight, and you'll be absolutely fine. Thank you so much for writing in all of those questions. I genuinely, I think, I love every episode that we record here on the Sales Circle podcast, but when we've got so many sort of short, quick fire questions, I love them. The time flies by, and I hope you do too. If you do have a burning sales question that you want to learn more about, maybe you just need a bit of help, a bit of a confidence boost, whatever it is, drop me a message. You can email thesalescircleofficial@gmail.com. Send us a message anywhere on social media, maybe comment as well, and I'll pick it up, and I'll be sure to read it out in a future episode. Just before we wrap off, I do have my book recommendation of the week. Every week we pick a book that I think is great from my library, one of my libraries behind me. And today I'm going to highlight Stephen Covey's, or Stephen, maybe I always get confused about this, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. A fantastic book. It's a bit of a bumper edition. This was recommended to me by quite a few people. And eventually I took the leap and bought it. Now, look, I'll always be upfront and honest. Upfront and honest. It's a read. It is a read, okay? This is not one that you can just pick up and put down and hope for the best. This is a read and a rereader and going back over chapters, maybe taking notes, maybe highlighting things. It is tough, okay? This has been recognised as one of the most influential books ever written. So it's a holistic, integrated, principle-centered approach for solving personal and professional problems with penetrating insights and pointed anecdotes. Covey reveals a step-by-step framework for living and working based on fundamental principles or natural laws, giving us the security to adapt to change and the wisdom and power to take advantage of the opportunities that change creates. It's gone on to sell 50 million copies worldwide and is still a bestseller. So if that's the case, it must be a good book. But like I say, it's a great book. It's tough, it's hard, it's full of diagrams, full of principles, but I do recommend it. Look, my thesis is salespeople must be the best of the best. Salespeople must be the best top performing athletes, especially the best ones. Of course, we can be mediocre salespeople. We can be average salespeople. We can be weak salespeople. But don't you want to be the best? Don't you want to be earning the most with the most career credentials? Absolutely. So stop wasting time on TikTok. Stop wasting time watching box set upon box set. Just pick up a goddamn book. And this week's, I don't know why I got so angry. This week's book recommendation is a good start. As always, the link for that will be in the comments or the show notes or the description below. So make sure you check it out. And that about wraps us up for another episode of the Sales Circle podcast. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm loving the momentum we are gaining with the Sales Circle podcast. We're getting so many fans worldwide, so many questions getting sent in. We're getting views on YouTube. We're getting streams on Spotify. So from the bottom of my heart, I thank you. Just before we round up, don't forget, hit that follow button, hit that subscribe, drop the video a like. And listen, why don't you send this episode to one of your colleagues, your peers? It could be that good value-bringing conversation to someone that you're trying to do business with. Just share them the link. It shares value, right? Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode. I've been, as always, Rob Spence, your host. And until next Thursday, all the best. And that's it for another episode of the Sales Circle. Make sure you hit that follow button, join us over on social media, and we'll see you next week.